Y'all ready? Have you ever had one of those seasons? Ever felt like that you were in some kind of experiment to just see how much you could take? You know what I mean? So much being thrown at you, like how much can one person take? Anybody know what I'm talking about? How many more setbacks? How many more losses? How many more setbacks can I take before I finally stop and say, you know what? I'm done. Anybody with me? Before that, like it just feels like you're in this experiment to see how much can you take. See, I've seen people that it didn't take much at all to take them out. You know what I mean? It didn't take much at all for them to cause them to walk away from their faith. Didn't take much for them to walk away from a relationship or a marriage. But then I've seen people that it seems like they go through a season of hell. And there's something about them. There's this resiliency in them that causes them to walk through that and come out of that thing just shining. You know what I'm talking about? See, we're going to talk about being resilient today. And I'm going to say something that maybe the younger people, you're going to push back on me, but you would be wrong. I'm convinced we are raising the softest generation ever. Ever. No resiliency. Because the first time they get their feelings hurt, the first time something happens to them, the first time you don't. Okay, Kelly, back up. The first time, well, we need to, what triggers them? What we need to apologize. We need to, instead of showing them a way to work through things, we bow to them and just I'm telling you, we will pay for how soft our generation is one day. I'm telling you, how many grew up like I did? If you had an issue with somebody, you were like, hey, you know what? You got an issue with me? How about we meet at the playground after school? Come on. Let's hash it out that way. And then we would fight. Somebody get their nose broke, and then we'd hug it out and walk away. But we learned how to handle issues like that. I don't even know how I got on that. But there's some people that know this resiliency. So when we talk about being resilient, what are we talking about? Here's the definition that Merriam-Webster gives. The capability of a body to recover its size and shape after deformation caused especially by compressive stress, an ability to recover from or adjust easily to misfortune or change. That's a pretty good definition. But I went to my good friend Chat, and I said, hey, Chat, what's a better definition of resiliency? And Chat says, PK, I think I got you. And so this is what he gave. The ability to adapt, recover, and grow in the face of adversity, trauma, or significant stress. It went on to say this. Rather than simply enduring hardship or bouncing back to an original state, it often involves a transformative process where a person emerges wiser and more capable. That's the resilience I want. Anybody with me? See, I want the kind of resilience where when I go through something, when life hits me in the mouth, here's the thing. When we go through those seasons, I don't think God just wants us to bounce back to our original form. I think God wants us, when we come out of that season, to emerge out of that transformed. Become newer, to become stronger, to become more capable than we were before we went through it. Too many times we spend our time just trying to survive it. I'm just trying to get through it. Rather than trying to say, okay, God, what are you up to in this? See, here's one of the issues in our Christian walk. And not with just new Christians. I'm talking about with people that have been doing this a long time, even myself, is this. We want to avoid anything hard or uncomfortable. We want to do whatever it takes to avoid anything that is going to cause us to have to build a resiliency. In fact, if you grew up in the era that I did, that was one of the selling points of becoming a Christian. Get saved, life will be easy. Get saved and you won't have to face pain anymore. Life will just be less painful, fewer disappointments. And it did not take you long to discover that is not true at all. Newsflash, if you're a Christian, you're going to have the same problems as someone that isn't a Christian. You're going to have some of the same struggles as someone that isn't a Christian. You're going to walk through some of the pain and disappointments as those that aren't. And because here's what I know. There are people today who have given their lives to Christ. They believe what his word says. They are in love with Jesus, and yet today they are still struggling emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Still. Come on. How do I know? Because I've been one of those. I've been one of those. So how do we develop this ability? How do we grow this ability to do more than just bounce back, to just survive? How do we go from simply enduring hardships, hard things, to allowing God to use those things to transform us to where we emerge out of it different? Our key verse today is going to be Proverbs 24:16. For though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. But the wicked stumble when calamity strikes. For though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. Now, what we're bad about doing is focusing on they rise again. They rise again. I want to focus on that first part. The righteous fall. I mean, here's the thing. If you're righteous, why are you falling? Especially 7 times. Come on, I mean, if you're right. In fact, according to my upbringing, you falling was proof that you were not righteous. Come on, anybody know what I'm talking about? But the proverb gives us this assumption the righteous are going to fall. And not just once, but 7 times. And if you know anything about the Bible and how it uses numbers, the number 7 is not just a number of completion, but it's a number of infinite capacity. Like when Peter asked Jesus, hey, how many times do we have to forgive somebody? 7? And Jesus like, no, 70 times 7. Jesus wasn't saying, hey, make sure you forgive at least 490 times. After that, you're good. No, he was saying you have to keep forgiving. So when the guy that writes Proverbs says a righteous man falls 7 times, the writer is saying, hey, the righteous fall, they fall again, they fall again, they fall again. In fact, they're going to fall so many times that person in the church that feels like it's their duty to keep count of how many times somebody falls, they're not going to be able to keep. Come on, y'all know who I'm talking about. Look at them. They're at the altar again. When are they going to get their stuff together? Says they're going to fall so many times you can't even keep count. Well, PK, then what is the point of trying to be righteous? But isn't that the problem? Because our thought process is this. If I'm properly aligned with Jesus, I should never fall. I should never blow it. I should never sin. I should never mess up. The writer of Proverbs disagrees with you. He said, you're going to fall. Now understand, this is not an excuse to sin. Like at the end of the day, you're like, hey, listen, I've only fallen 5 times a day. I got to get my quota in. I need 2 more times. What can I do? No. Here's the truth that some may push back on. Falling, messing up, blowing it is going to be part of your life until Jesus comes back. That's just a fact. The difference between the righteous and the unrighteous, the proverb tells us, is only one thing. They get back up one more time. One more time than they fell. The difference is between those who have resilience and those who don't is not whether or not they fell. It's that the other one got back up and one didn't. It doesn't matter how many times you fall. You just have to get up one more time than you fell. Isn't one of the problems, though, of our culture, even in the Christian culture, we are constantly looking for ways to make life just easier. I mean, easier. We'll change relationships, we'll change schools, we'll change locations, jobs, we'll move to another neighborhood, we'll find another church. And instead of finding a way to do more than just bounce back, instead of asking God what he's trying to grow in us through this, we are constantly trying to find just a way out of it. Don't believe me? 8 a.m. didn't get this. I mean, I didn't say it. Not that they didn't get it. I didn't say this. They're smart enough to get this. Is that what I'm saying? Think about your prayers you've prayed over the past week. Prayers you pray when you need a financial miracle, a healing in your body, healing in a relationship, a situation that you don't want to be in. What do our prayers sound like? God, heal me. God, supply all my needs. God, bring restoration. God, get me out of this. We should ask for those things. But what if we also begin to pray, God, you know what? I do want to be healed. But in the meantime, what are you trying to do in me? While I'm waiting for my healing, what are you trying to grow in me? God, I do need a financial miracle. And I believe you're going to provide. But in the meantime, while I'm waiting on it, what are you trying to teach me through this? What if we begin to switch our prayer life up? What if God is wanting to do more than just give you a miracle? Because come on, us human beings, if we got our miracle, we would be on our way. What if he's wanting to do more than just give you a miracle? What if he's wanting to build something in you, a resilience in you, because you thought this storm was bad? You're going to hit a storm where this is building up the resilience to get you through that one. What if that's what he wanted to do? Pastor Casey talked about this last week when he referenced a tube of new toothpaste. When you squeeze that tube, you squeezing it or putting pressure on it is not what creates what comes out of it. No, you're only revealing what was in there in the first place. That's what pressure does to us. Here's what James, the half-brother of Jesus, says. Pay attention to James' wording here, James 1:3. Because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Underline those first three words. Because you know. Do I really know, Sean? I mean, do I know? I mean, why do I want my faith tested? Why would God want to test my faith? Well, James tells us it's going to produce something. Perseverance. Let's read 3 and 4. You know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. The testing of your faith produces perseverance. But look at closer what James says. That word he uses for perseverance, what it produces is hupomene. What it means is this ability to remain under. This endurance in you. When I dug a little bit deeper into the meaning of this, one of the references said this: it is the characteristic of a man who has not swerved from his purpose and his loyalty to faith by even the greatest trials and sufferings. What is the purpose of the testing of your faith? To develop this ability in you to remain under. Even in the hardest times, to make you mature, complete, not lacking anything. Anybody want that? Come on, anybody want that? I don't know, but I want to be mature. I don't want to be lacking anything in my faith walk. James says this: well, if that's what you want, the only way to get it is have your faith tested. Too many of us want big faith without the big testing. See, why would we need big faith if we never have big issues or big problems? Well, PK, if having big faith requires me to go through some big issues, I'm good with little faith. Come on now. I get it. I agree. I mean, I get it, but here's the biggest issue. If we just want, I don't need bigger faith if it means I've got to go through. Well, the problem is this. If problems keep elevating, if the pain keeps elevating, if situations keep elevating, if the hurt keeps elevating, but your faith is not elevating, man, it's going to be easy to get overwhelmed. It's going to be even easier to walk away. This is why the testing of our faith is a necessity. Are you getting what I'm saying here, guys? Anybody here good at taking tests? Anybody, you say you're good at taking? One person, two people. Great. The rest of you are terrible at taking tests. Okay, listen, I wasn't necessarily good at school, but I was good at taking tests. I was. Why? Because they told me what to prepare for. I didn't pay attention any other time, but test day, I knew what to prepare for. I'm going to go in there. In fact, my brother's, all his business license, my name. Why? He sucks at taking tests. And I've traveled to Florida. I've tried to take tests on behalf of them. If I knew a test was coming up, I could study, do what I need to be done to get to do the job on that test. Now listen, anybody ever have a teacher that told you up front, tomorrow you're going to take a test, here are the questions that are going to be on that test, and here are the chapters where you'll find the answers to that test. Anybody, you ever had that happen? Yeah. You know, here's the amazing thing. Even with all that knowledge, people still fail the test. Sometimes even having the right or correct answers isn't enough to succeed, because we've never developed the internal structure to make the necessary choices to succeed with the hand that we've been dealt. God doesn't want us to just pass the test. Are you hearing me? Here's the problem with me being able to me being a good test taker. Is I never retained the knowledge. I just got it long enough to pass the test. When those that all along were studying, they began to retain what was being said in them. God doesn't just want you to pass a test. He wants to try to grow something in you. So what helps us develop this drive to get back up one more time? If you're taking notes, first thing, gratitude changes what you see and how you see. Gratitude. See, this isn't just a biblical truth. This is also an actual neurobiological truth. There was a study done in 2003 by American researchers Emmons and McCullough, where they assigned one group of young adults the task of keeping a journal, a daily journal of things they were grateful for. Every day they had to get up and journal things I'm grateful for. To another group, they said, okay, we want you every day, we want you to make a journal of things that annoy you. Things that make you feel better off than others. Here's what they found. The ones that kept a journal of things they were grateful for, they show greater increase in determination, attention, enthusiasm, optimism, and even energy compared to the other group. Another research showed that those who expressed gratitude on a daily basis, get this, they had better sleep and lower levels of anxiety and depression. Gratitude actually changes the way you see things and the way you think. But understand this about gratitude, and this is in your notes. Gratitude doesn't ignore problems. It refuses to be blind to the beauty that is all around you. See, gratitude isn't just saying, hey, I'm blessed and highly favored, when everybody around you knows that ain't true. Come on, are you getting with me? Because that's our Christian answer. How are you doing? Blessed, highly favored. Oh, they're repoing your car. Is that fast? Well, blessed, highly favored. I don't want that. It's not ignoring their issues. It's not ignoring their problems. What it's doing is not putting all your focus on that and being able to say, hey, even in the middle of this, there is so much beauty around me. There is so much good around me also, even in the middle of this. Look what Paul says in 1 Thessalonians 5. Rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. Hey, Paul says, rejoice always, pray continually, or pray always, and give thanks. When are we to do that? Not always. In what? All. Come on, church. In all circumstances. See, there is a growth that happens in you, a maturing that happens in you, a resilience being built in you when you are able to rejoice, pray, and worship even when your life is falling apart. Something is being built in you when in the middle of their circumstance, in the middle of a marriage falling apart, in the middle of addiction raising its ugly head again, in the middle of a bad doctor's diagnosis, in the middle of losing your job, there is a resilience built in you that in the middle of that, you're still able to rejoice, pray, and worship. God's doing something. Gratitude changes how we see. Second, faithfulness determines your next move. Your faithfulness will determine what you do after the fall. When life has hit you and you've fallen, you've taken a hit. There's a parable Jesus tells in Matthew 25. If you want to turn there, we'll bring it up on the screen if you don't have a Bible. It's a parable of the talents where Jesus gives these where the master gives these three servants talents. One he gives 5, one he gives 2, one he gives 1. And let's look at this. Matthew 25, starting with verse 14. It will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted to them whose property? The master's property, right? To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability, then away. This is important. The master didn't just start giving out talents. It said he gave according to their ability. What they were able to handle, what he knew they could do something with. Look at this, verse 16. He who had received the 5 talents went at once and traded with them. And he made 5 talents more. So also he who had 2 talents made the 2 talents more. But he who had received the 1 talent went and dug in the ground and hid whose money? His master's money. The master eventually comes back. Look at this, verse 19. After a long time, the master of those servants came and settled accounts with them. He came back. 2 of them had doubled what was given to them, what was entrusted to them. Then we get to the 1 servant that hid the talent given to him. Look at this, verse 24. He also, who had received the 1 talent, came forward, saying, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you scattered no seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid. Again, whose talent? Your talent in the ground. But his master answered him, You wicked and lazy servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming I should have received what was my own with interest. Is it just me, or does the master seem a little angry? A little peeved at this? Do you know why the master is upset? Well, let's go back to the 2 servants. Because the 2 servants that took what had been entrusted with them and doubled it, this is what he says to them in verse 21. He says, Well done, good and what kind of servant? You have been what? Over what? A little. So I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. That's what he said to the two that took what the master entrusted with them and did something with them. Now let's go back to the one that did nothing, and the master seems a little upset with him. PK, why is the master so frustrated with him? I mean, it tells us that he was afraid. I mean, he just didn't want to make a mistake with what the master had given him. Here's why the master was upset. Remember how the master divvied out the talents? Each according to their ability. Their ability. See, when the master gave this the one talent, he knew the possibilities that resided in that one talent and the person he gave it to. He knew, man, there were some great things that could be done with this if this guy would simply do something with it. There was potential. Well, PK, why didn't the master just tell him that? Why didn't the master just say, hey, I'm going to give you one talent. Here's how you do it. Here's how you use it. Go do this with it. Go. Why didn't he do that? Why didn't he give him instructions? Well, I think that's one of the big parts of the problem in our culture today is we just want to be bailed out. We want God to just come and speak over a situation and bam, miracle. We're out of the mess. But Jesus tells us in the parable, this man that was given this talent, he had the ability inside him to do something with it. It was there. See, the master wasn't upset that the guy didn't double it like the other two. The master was upset because the guy did absolutely nothing with what he had been given. Jesus said, you're faithful. I'm going to give you more. You want to be resilient? You want to build that resilience inside of you that doesn't bounce back but transforms? Again, Jesus says, be faithful where you're at right now. Be faithful with what you've been given right now. Don't wait for the big promotion. Don't wait for the right door to open. Don't wait for the raise. No, he says, be faithful where you're at right now. In this moment, be faithful. Now, if you're new, if you're visiting, tune me out. This is for my WBCC family. See, every week, we have people that show up to serve. Some of them have had to talk themselves into just showing up that day. How do you know that, Kelly? Because I'm one of those people. There are days, Kelly, get up. Kelly, get up. Why should I? Well, you're the pastor, so get up. But here's what I know about those that show up even when they don't feel like it. Even when they had a hell of a week. And they've got every reason to stay home. Those that keep showing up. By showing up and being faithful with a little. God is saying, look. Man, they're resilient. I know what kind of week they've had. They had every reason to just stay home. But look, they showed up one more time. Now I know I can trust them with more. I'll have people that have been here a little while, and I'll ask, hey, have you signed up to volunteer anywhere yet? Or are you serving in any area of ministry here at Watts Bar? And sometimes I'll hear something like this. Well, I'm just waiting to see where I need to get plugged in. I'm just kind of filling it out right now. I want to make sure, that's where God wants me to serve. You know where God wants you to serve? You know what God wants from you? To just be faithful where you're at right now. Maybe your calling isn't to greet somebody at the door. Maybe your calling isn't to change a diaper, to go down there and sing with kids. Maybe your calling isn't to be on a cleanup crew here at the church. But here's what, maybe that's not your calling. But here's what I know Jesus said. If you will be faithful in the little, just this thing right now, that says, hey, I could trust you with more. I was thinking, I've got my eye on a new vehicle, or when I say new vehicle, y'all know me, I don't buy new vehicles off the lot. But I've got one. And then, you know what? God spoke to me a couple of weeks ago. He's like, Kelly, you're not even keeping cleaned up the one you got right now. And you want me to bless you with something new? You're not even taking care of what I've given you right now. That's a word for some of y'all right now. I'm just going to let it lay there. Let it hit you like it hit me, because if I got to deal with it, you do too. Come on, just soak it in. Soak it in. So I'm like, I'm cleaning up my dadgum trucks, what I'm doing. I said this a few weeks ago. You know why I quit having to buy whole boxes of Little Debbie Swiss rolls? Because I can't just eat one. I know me, I can't. If I've got a box there, I'm going to eat the whole box. That's just me. Now, I'm going to say, if I just eat, I'm really trying to get healthier, and that's why, I've changed my diet up, changed some of the things I'm eating. But here's the truth. If I just eat one Swiss roll, it's not going to do anything right. But if faithfully I eat one a day, the weight I have lost will find its way back a lot easier than I lost it. The same with going to the gym. If I go to the gym one time, I really can't expect there to be any change in my physique. Like, I can't expect, hey, listen, I'm gonna own this because, hey, it may not ever happen again. But, I was leading worship, and one of the youth leaders at the other church, not too, Sheridan's standing there with me. She says, I was like, who's this guy look like? She said, it hit me. When you locked eyes with me, I thought, he looks like Matt Damon. I said, well, one, you need prayer over your eyes. But if you're talking about the Matt Damon from the Odyssey, that's a rip Matt Damon. I'll take that baby right there. Come on. So at the end, after it was over, I said, hey, would you like to get a picture of Matt Damon before you leave? And she did. She did. Poor girl, pray for her. But I cannot expect to go to the gym one time and things to change. I have to keep showing up faithfully. And then hopefully over time, people will begin to notice, man. In fact, I went down to see my brother Chris a few weeks ago. And he said, man, Kelly, I can tell you've been in the gym. I was like, you darn right you can. But you start to notice, here's the problem. We want the God of the one visit to the gym, and things are great. We want the God of, I can eat a whole box of Swiss rolls and it not really affect me. That's the God we want, the God of the miraculous and supernatural. Can I be honest? I want that God too. And God still works the miraculous. God still works in the supernatural. But more than not, He is showing up in the mundane things that we're doing every day that nobody else notices. We're just faithful to show up and do it. We just keep plugging away. Even if nobody else sees, we're just there showing up. Man, we're serving. We're plugging in. We're going to the gym at 5 in the morning. Nobody else sees us. But hopefully, eventually, people will begin to notice, man, they're not the same person they used to be. I don't know when it happened, but something switched into them. Come on. Man, you remember when they were a jerk? They're a little nicer now. I can stand to be around them more than 5 minutes now. Come on, Brent Matthew. I don't know why you're laughing. Let's move. See, the master looked at the two servants that doubled their talents and said, well done, good and faithful servants. You were faithful with what I entrusted to you. Now I know I can trust you with more. Some of you keep saying, God, give me more. God, give me more. And God is saying, why? You're not doing anything with what I've already given you. Why would I entrust you with more? I've given you what your ability says you can handle right now, and you're doing nothing with that. Now let's keep moving. The master says, you've been faithful with the little. You know what the little is? It's the choices you make every day. It's who you choose to be every day. It's the little moments every day. This past week, I chose almost every day to eat crap. And I feel like it. Crap. And I'm like, I'm Monday, I'm back in. I got to get dialed back. I went to the gym, but you know what? Even though I was going to the gym every day, what I was putting into my body, are y'all following me? Some of you needed to make a decision today what kind of man, husband, father you want to be. Some of you ladies, you may need to make a decision today what kind of woman, what kind of mom, what kind of wife you're going to be. Some of you young people, you need to decide today, hey, this is the character I want said about me. This is the virtues I'm going to live by. These are the values I'm going to live by. And make that decision today and then start doing something to move toward that. Why? Because the one that is faithful in the little mundane things, the one that is faithful with the little, the master looks back and says, oh, look at him. Now I know I can trust him with more. You want to build resilience? Gratitude, faithfulness. Third, humility changes how you respond. Humility. If you've been around here long enough, you know I am a huge sports fan. Tennessee Volunteers specifically. Now listen, any other sports fans in the room? I mean, you like sports? Listen. You don't have to be a Vols fan. You can also root for one of Satan's many other teams. But because, we're called to the lost. So any Alabama, Florida fans here, we'll pray for you too. But let's move on. But here's the thing. I'm a sports guy. And what I've noticed about guys that go into the Hall of Fame, guys like the Michael Jordans, the Peyton Mannings, the Messis, the Ronaldos, the Nick Sabans of coaches. Every athlete can have their moment where they put 50 points on the board. They can have a game where they throw for over 300 yards or run for 100 plus yards. They can do a hat trick during a match. Here's the thing. Those are not the moments that will define them. Those are great moments in their life, but those are not the moments that will define them. The moments that will define them as a player, the moments that will get them into the Hall of Fame are how did they play after the worst game of their life? How did they come back onto the field after having the worst game as a quarterback, the worst game as a point guard, the worst game as a whatever you call Messi, the kicker, whatever that position is. What is it? Oh, I thought Ben said something. I said Ben said, I don't know. How do you come back after being a really good-looking guy that can kick a ball? How do you do that? After having the worst game of your life. The ability to put that game in your rearview mirror and move forward. That's what makes great athletes. That's what gets you in the Hall of Fame. That's what they will be defined by. See, your fall, your losses, those won't define you unless you choose to stay down. That's the only way they will define you. But when you get back up, what you become defined by is what you did not allow to take you out. As a Christian, who is our rabbi? If you ever heard me talk on discipleship, who is our rabbi, the one that we should model our lives over? Jesus. Now look at something said about Jesus in Philippians 2, starting with verse 3. Paul wrote this from a Roman prison. Philippians 2, starting with verse 2, or 3. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather in what? In what? Value others above yourself, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interest of others. Now, here we go, look. In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as who? Christ Jesus, who being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he, Jesus, made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man. Jesus, what did he do? What did he do? Humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on the cross. It was Jesus' humility that made him obedient on the cross. Listen to me, don't confuse humility with weakness. Are you hearing me? See, resilience is built through humility. And you'll see here in a minute, humility is a strength that crushes serpents' heads. See, when Jesus out of humility was obedient to the call of the cross on his life, those looking on, they thought he had lost. They thought he was done. They thought he had fallen, thought he had been crushed. But the rest of this passage tells a different story. Look at this, verse 9. Therefore, God exalted him. Why? Because of his humility to obey, even to the point of the cross. Therefore, God exalted him to the highest place and gave him the name that is above every name, that at the name of Jesus, every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under earth, and every tongue acknowledge that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Humility in Jesus, it only elevated him. That's what humility did. See, Jesus didn't look down when he was on the cross and begin to point fingers. You're why I'm here. You're the reason this is happening. See, here's the thing with arrogant people. Arrogant people look for someone to blame. Humble people look for a fix or a solution to the problem. Can you imagine if Jesus came into our world with the culture, the mindset of our culture today, and he walked into our world and said, all right, who did this? My dad made a great world, and you've ruined it. I want to know who did this right now. Can you imagine if that's what he did? But he didn't do that. Instead, he humbled himself. And instead of coming to condemn and reject, he came to free us, forgive us, and make us his own. Get this. Jesus came as a servant to clean up our mess. Are you getting that? Our mess. See, here's the truth of it. You're going to fall. You're going to lose. You're going to have seasons in your life that will try to crush you and take you out. But don't be the person that in the middle of that is constantly looking for who they can blame for it. Be the person that says, okay, God, I don't like what I'm going through. But what are you trying to do in this? What are you trying to do this? See, here's the truth, guys. I'm not on this stage because I've never fallen. In fact, if you know me, you know that's not true at all. I'm not up here because I've never blown it, because I've never failed. I'm on this stage today for one reason only. I got up one more time than I fell. That's it. That's it. See, resilience is more than a toughness that you build up. Because here's the truth. The way we're wired, the way human beings are wired, we can endure almost anything if we believe there's something ahead. I mean, that's just the way we're wired. We can endure pain, setbacks, abandonment, hurt, abuse, being betrayed, financial failures, marital failures. We can endure almost anything if we believe, hey, there's something better ahead of us. Look what Paul said in Romans 5, 3 through 5. We also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces, here's that word again, perseverance, the ability to remain under. And that ability, and perseverance, character. And character, what does it produce? Hope. And hope does not put us to shame. Final point today. Hope turns I'm done into one more time. Hope turns I'm done. I can't take any more. Hope turns that into, you know what? I got one more in me. One more time. See, life will give you a reason a minute to say, I'm done. I'm done trusting. I'm done trying. I'm done praying. I'm done believing. I'm done with this trying to put one step in the front. I'm done with trying to be sober. I'm done with this relationship. Life will give you a million reasons to say I'm done. But hope will step in the middle of that and say, not yet. You're not done yet. You've got one more in you. One more time. One more time. Here's what I know, Russell. You'll have a hard time getting back up if you don't believe there's something better for you. If you don't believe there's anything worth getting up for, you're going to have a hard time getting up after you fall. And that's where some of you are. You're out of hope. You don't believe that things can be different. You don't believe things will even get better. You believe the lie, you'll always be alone. You'll always be like this. Nothing will ever change. Or this is all there is. And you need some hope. See, you've fallen. It's not that you don't want to get up. For some of you, yeah, I've fallen. I would like to get up, PK, but honestly, I just don't have the hope that anything will be different if I do get back up. You need hope. Hope in what? Because hope is really no hope at all. If your hope is in hope. So the question is, where is your hope? That's the game changer. Is your hope in a new job, a new relationship, a different town? The willpower to say no? Where is your hope? Where is your hope? That is the game changer in resilience to be able to get back up. Where is your hope from? Isaiah 40:31. But those who hope in the Lord. Kel, if I can just get this new job. Man, if God would just heal this relationship, heal this marriage. Man, if God would just take this craving away from me, this addiction away from me. And if God would just take this, Isaiah says, those who hope, not in a new job, not in a relationship, not in a different outcome, those who hope in the Lord, look what's going to happen. He will renew their strength. Some of you, you're tired. You don't know if you've got the strength to go another day. I want to get up, but I just don't know if I got the strength. Those who hope in the Lord, He will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not faint or grow weary. They will walk and not faint. One version says it like this. It says, those who entwine their hearts with Yahweh will experience divine strength. They will rise up on soaring wings. They will fly like eagles. They will run their races without growing weary, and they will walk through life without giving up. Those who hope in the Lord. See, resilience is not getting back everything you lost. What resilience is not losing yourself in what you did lose. Maybe life has knocked you down. Maybe something happened to you. Maybe somebody did something to you. Or maybe you did something to yourself. Maybe you've fallen and fallen and fallen and fallen again and again. Listen to me. Get back up one more time. Put your hope in God. A righteous man, a righteous woman falls. It's just the nature of the beast. But what makes it different is the righteous get back up one more time than they fell. And they get back up not because they're tougher than anybody else, not because they've not been hurt, not because they have all the answers, not because they have disappointments, but because their hope is in the Lord.